Sinamukele futhi ku Sportsview na njengoba sisaqhubeka ngetopic yethu i-power of the mind. Sikhuluma no Verna van Schaik, who is known as the world's deepest woman with a dive of 221 meters. Now this woman did this amazing thing in a time of 5.5 hours, but that was not the hardest part. The journey took 10 years, and not only did it change who she was, but how she sees the world and its limits. Now this year she celebrates 10 years of the anniversary, so please, by all means, join us as we meet this phenomenal woman. Power of the mind.
I grew up in Botswana. I spent 5 years in Botswana, and I think that's where I learned a lot about like exploring, because we used to spend every afternoon in the bush wandering around. And then I came back to Joburg, and I was never a very adventurous person in Joburg. If you look at who I was when I was a child, I think everybody was surprised that I managed to break a world record, including myself. Somewhere along the line between about Standard 8 and Varsity, I got this passion for being not for being underwater, but for sea life. I wanted to become a marine biologist. That kind of drove me when I went into Varsity to try and learn how to dive. And it took me 3 years before I actually managed to join up and actually start to learn how to dive. And then I kind of fell in love with it. It was the most amazing feeling to be underwater.
But being under took on a whole new meaning 10 years ago.
This journey took me 10 years. So if I look at the amount of time, or the time that it took me to go from really deciding that I wanted to do this and getting to the world record, I have two sort of pivotal dives. One was set in the UK for a world record 186, and that I did in 2001. And then the next dive I did was in 2004. And before that was possibly another 2 years. So I mean, I'm looking at about at least a decade of diving and 6 years of concentrating on deep diving and extreme diving.
It doesn't come easy when setting a new world record.
So for a 100-meter dive, we used 5 cylinders. The first two are the twin set that we wear on our back. That contains the helium, nitrogen, oxygen mixture, the trimix gas, safe to breathe at 100 meters. On the way back up again, we use 3 decompression gases. From 36 meters up, we use a mixture of 36% oxygen. The balance is nitrogen. From 20 meters up, we use a mixture of 50% oxygen. And finally, from 6 meters up, we use a 100% pure oxygen.
Basically, we're going to go back into the tunnel system, and I'm going to be doing 100. I never started off wanting to dive deeper in caves. I didn't even have this idea that I could become the deepest woman in the world. But I really loved being underwater, and that love and passion kind of drove me. And when I look back, one of the things that seems to be a part of who I am is I like to really get good at what I'm doing. The dress rehearsal really needs to be more about the equipment and making sure that... And then I like to beat myself. So it just turned out that one of the days I got to a point where beating myself meant doing something that was nobody else had done before. I mean, everybody sees a world record as something that happens afterwards. They don't see the 10 years that came in front. I mean, this was a journey that was step by step by step. And I got to a point where I had a goal in mind, but the only thing I could focus on was on the next step. And then it's about, okay, if you want to be here, what's the next step that you can take right now in this moment? And dare to live the life that you want and not be stuck in how other people think you should be.
Thirdly is for Verna to achieve her goals.
If I had to look at mentors and people who've helped me along the way, I think Nuno Gomez, who is the world's deepest man, his record's recently been broken, but he was the person who actually inspired me or connected to me to this idea that you can actually do something different. On the day of the dive, it's basically the culmination of like a week work of prep work. So at that point in time, we've had to put in shot lines, we've had to put in all the cylinders, because I'm in the water for 6 hours. So I have to take all those cylinders, all those DVs with me, otherwise I won't make it in the water for 6 hours.
Get in, go down, turn left, go down, turn left, go down, reverse, slowly, get out the water. World record.
Loud cheers, appreciation.
Yeah, well done.
We get this little show on the road. There's a little hole that needs to be dived in today.
You spent a whole week, and those are the words you came up with.
Despite being ready, A few formalities needed to be completed.
When you get there, then it's a long walk. It's 20 minutes down. It's in a sinkhole, so there's scrambling and it's a hike down. And then it's just almost like it becomes a slow sort of sequence. Like I know what I have to do, and for me, kitting up is a sequence, because if I get the sequence right, then I don't miss anything out.
Okay, yes, a photo now from Bushman's hut from the top. This is this part where the water is there.
And then when you get on the dive, there's a very small piece of water, and the first part through is through a narrow crack in the cave, because you go in from the side of the cave, and then there's like a funnel that comes down, and then you get to the top of the roof, and then you descend straight down. I've only got 12 minutes for it, so I've got to be able to go from the surface through the crack, swim like this, and I've got about 6 cylinders on me, so it's very difficult to swim. You feel like you're swimming like you're dragging. You've got so much drag when you're swimming.
Then it was into the water and the pre-arranged process began.
And I got in about 10 because I wanted a minute just to be there, and I almost missed it. I got to 221 meters and I had to grab onto the line. I just couldn't get, diving, it's all about your skill, and when you get to your bottom you slowly slow down and level off, and this wasn't one of those dives. I got there and I was going, holy crap, I'm not slowing down, grab the shot line, and then I was there.
Hey? 221. Either that or she's got a fake tag. She's got the tag, yeah. Yeehaw!
And that was an intense sense of relief then, and also peace. I just felt a sense of complete freedom. And when I sit there and I look up, and then I could just see coming down the shot line the 2 little pinpricks of light, which were my deep support divers coming down. And then I look at my watch and I know I have to leave. I can't stay, but I really wanted to stay and just imprint that moment to my life. After that, the dive just gets technical. It's all about making sure that I've got enough gas so that I never run out of gas.
I met Verna at 80. She had with her the 221 meter tag that she would have got off the line, so it looks like she made the record. She was looking good at that stage, and now at 1 hour 44 minutes she'd have made it all the way back up to 23 meters, and she's still got nearly 4 hours to go.
Verna surfaced and the world record was hers.
Bushman's hut is a tiny little space. So I came up and going, where on earth did all the people come from? They were like rock rabbits, people, like everybody, like the farm had come down, and Reese from Scuba Pro, they'd sponsored me, he was there, and everybody was waiting for me to come out of the water. And then the paramedics were on top of me because they wanted to make sure I was fine, and they put me onto oxygen, and I was freezing cold.
But that moment is now behind her.
The most interesting part for me has been spending 10 years trying to understand what it was I did. I could never understand why I had this limitless freedom and empowerment and ability to do anything in the world of diving, but I was never able to translate that into the world of work, which is where you spend most of your time anyway. So I've been trying to understand that journey and why me, and what did I do differently, what was it about me, because I firmly believe that who I am isn't set in stone. It's something I can change, it's something I can choose. And I know this because I know who I was when I started the dive. If you described me, there was not a chance. It doesn't have what it takes. But I did. And slowly, as I've asked myself the questions and really tried to understand what I did, I've realized that for me going forward now is a lot more about life coaching and really trying to create new possibilities and an awareness of new possibilities for people about who they are and what they think is possible, because 221 taught me about limits and thinking about myself in a different way.
Verna's experience has inspired her to teach others how to dive.
No woman has dived as deep as I have in 10 years, and that is why I wrote my book, which is called Fatally Flawed. I'm also one of the few people that has had the experience of diving with Nuno Gomez and Dave Shaw, who's got the deepest rebreather dive. And really this is the journey as I experienced it 10 years ago. I'm busy with another book now, which is also about trying to connect people with their dare and living with dare, and really trying to create that awareness with people about who they are is not who they think they are. Especially in South Africa today, I think we have so much potential and possibility, and we've just got to start to think about things differently.
What an inspiration, Verna. You go, girl.